Are you ready to organize your amazing ideas into a powerful book? You are in the right place at the right time to learn how to write your book. Hi, I'm Joyce Class, and welcome to the Write Hour, nonfiction tips from the Write Coach team. We are so glad you joined us today. Hello, and welcome everybody. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
I'm glad you're here too. I'll give everybody a second to hop on here, but I'm glad we're doing episode 1406. Chris had a little illness on Tuesday, but he's doing much better now, so I'm glad you're doing better, Chris.
Thank you.
And let me get my microphone closer so everybody can hear me better. But I wanted to tell everybody this is our last episode of this season, of season 14. And then we've got season 15. We've got half of that lined up. So we're going to have some more, but that's going to start March 9th. And so keep that in mind. Again, it will be Tuesdays at 3 p.m. most of the time, unless they're in another time zone. I've got some people that come from other countries. And so we'll do it at 7 p.m. to accommodate their time zones. But I always post beforehand what time it will be, so you can be able to check. Or if you want to get on the email list, I always send out an email the day before. And you can go to thewritecoach.biz to get on that email list. But Chris is here today because we're going to talk about raving fans. You ready to talk about raving fans?
I am excited to.
Yes. Well, Chris has been on a journey because he actually started off with, was it chemical engineering? As a chemical engineering, and somehow he's ended up in books, and he's going to tell us how he made that transition from engineering and science to books. So, but he's here today. He's become a friend of mine over the past couple of years, and he's helped out with the Write Coach team. And now he's actually a part of the team for the Write My Book boot camp, and we're going to talk to you a little bit more about that later. But what is so exciting is that you can ask questions here today. And we see Sherilyn's here. Hello, Sherilyn. If you have a question, please post it. And we've got some other questions that we're going to cover later on. Don't let me forget to ask those extra questions there, Chris, that I mentioned before we got on. But first, tell us a little bit about your journey and writing a book and creating JETLAUNCH is his company. And just tell us, how did you get there and what do you do? How do you help people?
Yeah, sure. So I'll skip a lot of the details. I was a chemical engineer and worked in the paper industry. And then I was a high school teacher for several years. And then eventually I just wanted to do my own thing and sort of stumbled into books because I love books. Plain and simple. Always have. And, yeah. And so, so now we've got JETLAUNCH, and we provide all the self-publishing services there are, pretty much, focusing on editing. Design is the big piece, publishing, and helping people with their marketing as well.
Love it. Love it. And have you written your own book? I thought you said that would be
about Yep. This is a little bit of a case of the cobbler and the shoes. And I've written a couple small ones that I put out, and this was a long time ago. And then I've been a co-author and co-authored books where there are several. And recently, however, I am coming out with a book sometime this spring. I'm co-authoring with my other business partner on a separate business, and the book is called Hook, Line, and Book. And this is the first time I've actually mentioned it publicly anywhere.
Woo, we got a first.
Yeah.
But I like it, Hook, Line, and Book. So that is awesome. And is it for nonfiction or fiction, or is it about marketing? What's it about?
Yeah, so it is about how to write a book that sells, captures, creates a raving audience. So my other business partner and I, in the company called Conversion Publishing, we have created this outline. So we write books for people, so like entrepreneurs, etc. And it's a higher level, it's a higher ticket. We're at 30,000, so it's up there. But we have we developed this complete system using story and all the other pieces to build know, like, and trust with your audience. So it's going to teach people how to do it if they want to do it themselves.
Gotcha. Love it. Love it.
Yeah. And we're designing a course at the same time, that same material, just, more in depth.
Awesome. Well, as you know, marketing for most writers, especially new writers, is tough. Unless, I mean, I've met a few people like they have a marketing background and they love it and that works for them. But in general, most writers that I have met, it terrifies them because they don't know what to do, where to start. So what do they need to focus on first?
Yeah, so this is where what I call the PRC comes into play. Your perfect reader customer, and you need to know that person, that group of people intimately. Most authors, they come in knowing what kind of book they want to write, and then they go out and find the audience that's going to buy that book from them. But even if you want to take that approach, at least go back, understand that person and the big problem that you're solving intimately, because one, you're going to be able to write directly to them.
Yes.
It's going to be huge. I mean, people can pick up all sorts of things when they're reading, the tone, the kind of person who's writing, even the mood they're in based on, just what they're writing. So if you're going into it knowing this person, you're like, yeah, I can't wait to help them. Oh, I forgot to tell them about this. And then you just start writing and they love it. And I think that's the first place to focus, because that's also going to lead into some of the other stuff we talk about, which is how to find that person and how to connect with them.
Right. And then that's something that we teach in the Write My Book Bootcamp too, that is in perfect alignment with that, is when you know your readers so well that they feel like you've been either reading their mail or hanging out in their brain, because like, how did you know? I just thought about this the other day and I pick up this book and you're answering my question. I mean, I've had that happen before. Like, I'll have a question about something kind of rumbling around in my head and I pick up the book to read it and then there's the answer and I'm like, how'd they know I was thinking about that? So, and it's because the person writing knew their reader. They knew the struggles. They know the struggles of their readers. And when you get that intimate with your readers, it is exciting and it is much easier to write, because when you're writing to that one or two people that you really hone in on, then it makes it much easier to write and your writing has more depth and interest and people will come. And that's part of it. One of the questions that we had with somebody is like, how do you brand yourself to have raving fans, where people are like, evangelizing your book, like, oh, you've got to get this book, so and so write it. Like there's people who love Brenda Bouchard, there's people who love Beth Moore, there's people who love Tony Robbins and John Maxwell and any author that's big and famous, Jerry Jenkins, that you can think of. It's because they've connected with them, and I love that. So the next question is, what is a way to grow your audience faster? Because all of us, well, besides that we live in a microwave society and we want it done yesterday, or push a button and poof, that easy button that Staples has, right? We want that easy button pushed and like, hey, I got 1,000 people following me today. Well, unfortunately, there isn't that easy of a button, but it is easier with what Chris has to say. So tell us about that.
Definitely. So authors put a lot of focus into, and they should, into reaching their perfect reader customer, their readers. You put a lot of time in there, and you put out social media, you do all these things, and that's great. I still think you should do that. But what if you went up a level, and instead of, so let's say we'll just pick a number. Let's say there are 1,000 readers who are perfect for your book. Who do they follow? Whose audience are they already in?
Yeah.
And so you go up a level and you're like, okay, who are the people, the influencers, who are providing value for those people already? Those people are already in their Facebook group, or just following them on Facebook or Instagram or YouTube or LinkedIn. They're on their email list. Who are these people? And then those are the people that you're going to put the effort into. And one of the well, let's just define first of all, because this was one of those other questions,
Oh
who
yeah.
who an influencer is. An
Yes.
influencer is anybody who influences someone else. Now, that could mean you have an audience of only 100 people or only 10 people. That's not a bad thing. If those 10 people or 100 people are buyers, they're highly motivated, or they're highly just connected with that person, then that's wonderful. Now, influencers, as the way we tend to think of them, have big audiences.
Hmm.
So they might have 10,000 or even 100,000. You go onto their Instagram, they're the people who have 10,000 followers and can put things in where you swipe up and do all that other stuff that you only get when you get to that level. They're just people who other people follow. There's not necessarily like a cutoff on that at all. That's going to be up to you. You're really looking for those people who, one, are going to be easy for you to work with, and two, they have a good connection with
Right.
their audience already. And so the short version of this is, you want to connect with those people, offer them some sort of joint venture or partnership, or, for example, a lot of authors, they have a book, but then they have a course that they sell after that. Well, maybe you get that person to promote your book, and in exchange, and you have to track it and all that, but they get a percentage of your course sales. Because let's say that you connect with somebody and there are 10,000 of your perfect readers in that group.
Hmm.
Think of how valuable that would be. And so you go through this process of courting them, and you start by going to their social media, interacting with people, providing value. You're not like, hey, buy my stuff, or hey, let's connect. You start out softly, you start out slowly.
Yeah.
It's like the dating game. Oh, hey there, yeah, want to get married?
You
You
doing?
know, you don't go to that level right away. You build your way up. And but when you make these connections with people, and at some point you're going to have to get brave and actually ask to connect. But it could be all sorts of things. You could ask, for example, you could ask the owner of the group if you could provide a free video training of what that group is about.
Hmm.
Because if your ideal readers are in there, you're going to have some expertise that's going to be of value to them. Now, think of you as the group owner. Somebody comes in and they're going to provide value, and they're going to get people engaged on your group. You're going to be super excited about it. And so that is sort of that's the overall picture of my method. Don't just go after that first level, go to the next level. And in some cases, you can go to the level after that.
Yeah.
Who's influencing the influencers?
Right.
So,
Well, and that, Chris, that's actually kind of how we met, isn't it? That you connected with me in the group somehow. Somebody introduced us or something. Uh,
right.
and then we've just we connected. You were on my podcast, and now you're on a live stream, and you're working with my boot camp. So that's the exact kind of thing. And Chris never came to me and said, "Hey, Joyce, I'm an expert at all this. I need to be in your boot camp and training your people." He did not start the conversation like that. And if he had, it probably would not have gone well. He'd be
Yeah.
like, this guy's creepy. Get out of here. You scared my dog, I guess. Abby, hush. Hold on.
So then let me talk just a little bit while she's controlling the ferocious one. There's something called the Dream 100. It
Yeah.
ties into this perfectly, and you can you can find more information about that just by doing a search online. There's marketers are really into this. So there's a lot of information about how to find and pursue your Dream 100. And the Dream 100 is basically who are the top people that you want to connect with. Now, it's dream because some of those are going to be super high level. You may have a dream of connecting with Beth Moore or Brendan Bouchard or any number of people who are in your field. And
Right.
so don't think that they're out of reach. They're not, because part of this procedure, this process, you start out at people that are sort of like at your level of influence or a little higher, but then you start step-toeing up and connecting with, and eventually, if you keep at it, and I hear this over and over again, I can't believe I just got introduced to this big person, and they're actually going to do a joint venture with me, and it happens all the time.
Yes, I love that. And so connecting with those people, that's something that Sherilyn asked here is, how do you approach those people without stepping on the toes of the influencer, meaning their followers? And I think you kind of answered it that with your question, but go ahead.
Yeah, that one's easy. You don't. So if you are in the group with their followers, for example, then you provide value for them and you don't promote yourself. You never promote yourself because you're in somebody else's group. It's just not cool. But you can certainly provide value to them. Some of them will probably DM you later on. But what you really want to do is then, as you've shown value and been a member of that community for a little bit, talk to the owner of it or one of the moderators, and then come up with something like the next step up, providing the video training or something like that. Eventually, you'll have the opportunity for your company, book, whatever you're doing, to be promoted because you've just given so much value already. And it doesn't take tons of time. It really doesn't.
Right. And that's something that I like to do. And that's something that is how I meet a lot of people, is I'm in a lot of different groups for different reasons. Some are paid groups, some are free groups. And especially the paid groups, if somebody comes in, because love apps and tech girl and stuff, and it says, I need an app for CRM. What do y'all recommend? And CRM is customer, what is
relationship management.
There you go, relationship management. Went blank. Glad you remembered. And I'm like, I love Close. Close is my favorite CRM.
Yeah.
And I evangelize about Close. I have no relationship with Close financially. I just like them. And that's just like, it's the same kind of thing, if somebody says, where's a good pizza place to go to? And you go, oh, you need to try this place. Johnny's down the street is amazing. That's the same kind of thing that you are doing when you help people. So you just want to help people in that way. Trying to get the dog over here. So connecting, that's how you do it, is connecting with people in other groups, connecting with the influencer. Again, that's making comments on their post, sharing their post. Those kinds of things really help people, and they start to notice you, because they'll see, oh, there's that Chris guy again. He shared my post. How nice of him. Now if there's somebody with 10,000 people and they got 50,000 people, sharing posts, then you may get lost in the shuffle, but that's not always the case. And you're not always shooting for that person. I don't know what she has, but there's something she's got something on the stairs. Anyways, so that's part of how connecting with people, and that's part of what's so good. So I love that you said courting people on social media, then asking for the connect, and providing free training. And the whole thing that Chris is saying here is bring value. Bring value to the table. And when you bring value to the table, they're going to notice and they're going to appreciate it. Because the thing, and even in this group, you don't want to just be going, hey, buy my book, and drop a link and leave. That in the Write My Book group that we're streaming into. We're also streaming on YouTube and Facebook page. But in the Write My Book group, I tell people all the time, don't just drop your link and run. Tell me about it. Why should I open it up? Or ask questions, or share somebody else's, book. Hey, my friend Sally, her book's released today. Here it is. And when you are constantly giving other people value, that was one of the things Keith taught is, for every 8 to 10 times that you're sharing something, you need to be sharing other people's stuff at least 8 of those times, and 2 times share something of yours. And it's that whole 80-20 thing. 80% of the time, share other people's stuff, and 20% share your own. And that builds that rapport and that trust. Is that something that you like to do?
Yeah, there's a good book by Gary Vaynerchuk about that. Jab, 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 right hook. Jab, 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 right hook. Yes. Which is actually exactly 80-20. So yeah, that's a good book, but that's a good policy. Absolutely. I love it, because eventually you do want to talk about your stuff because you've got something of value. You have something valuable. People do want to know about it, but you do have to, like you said, 80% needs to be them.
Sharing about them. I love that.
Yeah.
So what mistakes do you see authors making with marketing?
Yeah, I'd say that the biggest one is taking the easy way out, which, not putting in that effort to figure out who your perfect reader customer is. Not going online to find not just your authors, but those influencers. So, just whatever you have to do to put in that effort, even if it's 15 minutes a day, you go on. And a tip for doing that is put yourself in the mind of your reader. Pretend you are your reader, and you got this problem that your book's going to solve for them. So now you're that person. What are you going to type in online? Go to Facebook. What are you going to be looking for? What kind of groups are you going to try to find? YouTube. What videos? Google. What are you going to search for? So if you do that, you're going to find these people. You're going to find these groups. Just like when you went online to pursue your passion for photography, you started finding photography groups everywhere, and eventually you joined the right ones, and it felt good to you. So that's my tip for that. Another mistake is when people write their book description, they don't use copywriting techniques. They just write, oh, well, this is what my book is about. But now if you're your perfect reader and you're going to Amazon and there's like one paragraph all smushed together and it's like, yeah, this book is about this, 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 and this, you're going to be like, whatever, and just move on. Copywriting is going to help. One, you've done the work of understanding your perfect reader, but 2, it's going to give you what you need to know to write the right kind of book description. There's a new one that just came out from a friend of mine, Ray Brem. The book is called Copywriting for Authors. Just start with that. It's a cheap little book, Copywriting for Authors, super simple, and just learn the basics. You don't have to become a copywriter. You need to use those techniques in your book description so that people will actually buy it from you. And the third big mistake is what we sort of just discussed earlier, people going onto social media and posting everywhere. Here's my book, buy my book. Isn't my book great? Don't you want my book? You know what I mean? Don't, again, do that. That's not going to get people to buy your book.
Yeah, here's my suggestion, and this is something I have learned over many years of doing this, is ask a question that's going to entice them. If you notice, almost every post I have promoting the live streams, it starts with a question. This one was, do you know how to find your raving fans, or something like that? Right? It was so, and then people they like, oh, yes, I do want to find raving fans. And that's how people respond to questions on there. That's why you want to, a lot of times, start with a good question. That's good copywriting. Or start with something that's going to lead them in. Are you ready to find your raving fans? Or are you ready to write your book? Or what's a good one that you've seen, Chris? Do you have any that come up top of your head?
Yeah, well, just not necessarily a specific one, but in general, something with curiosity in it.
Mm-hmm.
That, and again, if you're, do you want to write a book? Well, if you are into book writing, that's going to be like, well, yeah. What else is there? What else does she have to talk about? So, think in terms of hooks.
Yeah.
Curiosity is a great hook,
Mm-hmm.
or like super value. Like, write your book, learn how to write your book and sell 1,000 copies in the first month.
Right.
Whoa. You're gonna be like, okay, yeah, now there's a hook.
Right.
So think of
That's a great hook too, because you've got a number there, and people are like, "Yes, I do want to sell $1,000. I mean, 1,000 copies. Is that possible in my first month?" And it can be possible, but just like anything, it takes some work. So you need to make sure that you're doing that. So, what advice or encouragement do you have for writers, or someone struggling to grow their audience?
So, two words of encouragement. One, anyone can do this. Anyone can grow their audience. Just because look at the thousands of people who are growing their audiences right now. Why are they able to grow their audience and you aren't? Well, because you're not doing what they're doing. And primarily, it's a lot of connecting. So it's what we talked about to find your Dream 100, to participate in their groups, because when you do that, you're not just going to make connections with the owner of the group, you're going to make connections with a lot of people in there as well. So just, you can grow your audience. Just again, think in terms of value and what you can provide, and then forming some partnerships. Hey, if you have me on your podcast, or I can do a video, or if you do this, and then think, well, what can you provide for them? And just be creative, because there's probably a lot of things that you can provide that would be of interest to them. And then, my other encouragement is there are a lot of people out there making a full-time living as a writer. You do not have to think that that's not possible. It is possible.
Mhm.
You got to put the work in. You got to understand your readers and your target market and some things like that. It's not overly complicated. It really isn't, even though you're getting tons of information. If you were to sit down and be able to like look at a list, you're like, oh, that's not bad. I can do that. So it's entirely possible to do. You just want to make sure that you're doing it right. Be strategic about it. Think in terms of, okay, if I want to be a full-time author, what do I need to do to get there, and what are the steps? And then find somebody who's going to help you with those steps. And then often the person you find to help you, you're going to end up helping them in some way, and the whole thing continues.
I love that. So your encouragement is anyone can do this, which it is true. It takes learning. I mean, I've been doing this for almost 6 years now, and I am still learning, but I know so much more now than I did 6 years ago as far as the coaching part. Now, I started writing professionally 10 years ago, almost 11. And I've learned again a lot because I've pursued it. And I think if you think of it as a journey and not a destination, that you will enjoy it more. Because here's the whole thing, some people are like, oh, it'll be so great when I'm a published author. And they get to that point and they're like, huh, it wasn't exactly what I thought it would be.
Yes, yes.
And it's because you're putting that moment up on a pedestal, whereas the whole journey is what's really important. The learning, the connections, what you're connecting with your readers, connecting with other writers. That's what it's all about. And that's something that we do in the Write My Book Bootcamp. We help you connect with other writers. We help you find influencers. And Chris taught in great detail about this Dream 100 at our last Marketing Monday. And so if you are looking to find a way to grow as a writer, the Write My Book Bootcamp is definitely the perfect place for you to go next, to check things out. And that link, Sherilyn, I think you are still out there. If you could type the link out, and may have put it in the post, but it's therightcoach.biz /bootcamp. Let me put that in here. But we are doing Marketing Mondays once a month with Chris. I almost said Keith. Keith is no longer doing it. But here we go. So I can post it up here so everybody can see it. And somebody says they love the boot camp. Who is that? Oh, it's Adrian. Adrian
Nice.
loves the boot camp. He completely disagrees because he would have not completed his book without the community. And that's what we're hearing a lot. And that I know that's Adrian because he's on the Write My Book group, and I saw it popping up. So, but thank you, Adrian, for chiming in. I appreciate that. And if you want to check it out, it's therightcoach.biz /bootcamp. And we are doing a flash sale starting today until Monday. You can get $30 off per month. It's normally $197 a month, and it's now going to be $167 a month. And it will stay that price as long as you stay a member. And the code for that is FLASH30. Let me put that in here. And I will actually put this in the post when we're done too, so everybody can see it and find it. There we go. FLASH30. There you go. And that's the code that you can use. And I mean, just what Chris does alone, I'll be honest, is well worth the $167 a month. Okay, just learning that part, because that's a big part and it's a tough part for a lot of people. But what we have is what he's talking about is community and connections, but you also learn the writing process straight from the beginning. I teach something called the Write Plan, which is the writing process simplified. Instead of, I hate formal outlines, the Write Plan stands for an acronym, and I teach you how to do the writing process with that acronym, and it's 6 questions you answer. Just write your book. And then the other part is Sherilyn, who is also in the group. She is our book proposal expert. And she did a training on book proposal. We have a training on self-editing. And there's all the trainings are listed on that website. But it's learning how to grow as a business, learning how to market your book, whether to do self-publishing or traditional publishing. And we've got Elizabeth Lyons coming in, and she's going to teach about doing a launch if you self-publish. And there's someone else who hasn't totally confirmed yet, but I think she's coming in. She's going to teach about traditionally publishing. So we've got a lot of information in there, and it's going to continue to add to it as we go throughout the year. So this is a great time to join. And I appreciate, Keith. I love that what you've shared with us. And I wanted to go back over and review real quick some of the mistakes because I wanted to add my little 2 bits. But you said taking the easy way out and not researching your audience. That is key. And that's the whole thing. Get to know your audience, right? I mean, that's the best way. Don't you think so, Chris?
Yeah, absolutely. That has to be the start of everything.
Yeah. Because once you know that and what they need, it makes it so much easier. And Adrian, I think you can attest to that because he learned that, and he actually changed how he was going to write his book. He was going to actually write 2 different books and realized he could actually put it all in one book because of the way we approached it, and he figured out how to approach his book best. Taking time to find influencers. Yes, it's going to take time. No, it's not easy. I'm sorry. There's no easy button for that part. But the part of it, it's worth it. And it's one of those things you gain momentum, don't you, Chris? Once you connect with a few, they'll say, hey, you need to talk to this person, or they'll recommend you to people. I mean, I'm at that point now. I've got people coming to me going, so-and-so recommended me to you. Awesome. I'm so great to connect. And so either it's for a podcast, or this week I got a new member for the boot camp that way because she was recommended by a current member. So that's a great way to get your connections as influencers, because that's actually part of your easy button, because you can tap into their group. And when you tap into their group, say you're on their podcast and they have 2,000 listeners. Well, that's 2,000 people that you don't know, most likely. So you got to think of it that way, that it is an income producing activity in the long run. It may not be immediate, but it will be in the future. And then putting yourself in the mind of the reader. I like that. That's a big thing when you go to search, figure out, ask them. I mean, I go in the Write My Book group, and that's part of what the Write My Book group is about. Ask people, say, I'm helping single moms with get past their financial troubles. Are there any single moms in here, and are they struggling financially? Can I talk to you? And do a quick survey, and go into mom groups, go into financial groups. You will find them everywhere. That's the kind of thing, is just like Chris has said, think outside the box. And then I loved your copywriting. What was the name of that book again?
Copywriting for Authors.
And what's her name?
His name is Ray Brim.
Ray Brim. Okay. R-A-Y?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Copywriting for Authors, Ray Brim. If you can do that, Sherilyn, add that'd be good. And I will post it up here. But and then finding those hooks and curiosity when you're doing social media and posting, that 80-20 rule. So keep those things in mind. We love being here and connecting with you and encouraging you along the way. And I forgot to ask, does anybody have any questions? While you're typing your questions, there were a couple more that we had separately that we've answered some of them, but there was another one. Well, I think you may have sort of answered this one. The best way to reach influencers. You want to just review real quick?
Yeah, it's just getting into their world, starting at the bottom, contributing, sharing posts, what are little things that you can do, not promoting yourself at all, just in there. Whoa, my job is to come in here and help people. And then once you start doing that, you're going to get noticed. And then if they don't reach out to you, you can certainly reach out to them.
Yeah. And then how do you brand yourself as a writer to make people want to evangelize your writing?
And that, again, is going back to the foundation of understanding your perfect reader. So if you know that person, then what is it that, related to what you're solving and what your thing is, what is it that is most important to them? What is it they're losing sleep about? What is it they're willing to spend $10,000 for, or $1,000? What are they excited about? What is the sort of thing topic that they would want to evangelize? And so you have to, again, go into their mind. What is it that's super important to them? And then you provide that. And then you go a step further and you provide ways to help them evangelize. You create a team or a group, and you motivate people. And once you start doing that, you're going to get people who are raving fans and will then carry on and evangelize for you.
Yeah. So, I think, and another thing that I've heard to add to that would be, obviously, you want to write an excellent book. That's be the first part of that.
Oh, man. Without saying, you have to learn how to write a great book.
Yeah. And which Adrian is actually the person who asked that, and I edited his book, so I can say it is a great book. Nice. For angel investing, I'm not even really interested in angel investing, but I learned a lot editing his book. And so if I, who have no clue and no interest in angel investing, can find it interesting, those that I'm sure that are interested in it will eat it up. And he did a great format. He did a question answer format in most of the book to help people with that from both sides, from the investor side and the founder side. So yeah, definitely have a great book, and definitely have a way to connect with people so that you can. And then the bottom line of all of this is relationship, right?
Yeah. The relationship is so important. That I put off that with my own company for years because I wanted to do my own thing, sort of be the lone wolf, and it didn't work. Things grew slowly. Once I started building relationships, the whole thing took off like crazy, wildfire. So, and it makes you feel good. Even if you're an introvert, if you make a connection with one other person, you get on a 15-minute Zoom call and just find out a little bit, you feel better about that. It's just the way we're created. There's such a social piece to us that it just provides value even there.
Yes, it definitely. So that's relationships with your readers and establishing relationships with influencers, both ways. And you've got, like you said the word strategic, about being strategic about that, becoming a full-time writer. And that's the whole bottom line of all of this. You can't just haphazardly go, I want to write a book. I'll get to it. And 6 months later, you've probably done nothing. And that's where, working with the boot camp, we kick your booty and keep you going. And so,
yep.
Very nicely kick your booty, though, right, Adrian? And then if you decide, I want to do this full time, well, you can't just, I'm just going to quit work and I'll just do full time. Well, if you need income, that's not going to work. That's not your best plan. So you've got to plan out how you can do it and how you can phase out your job, or you may have to do some odd jobs for a while that are part-time so that you can still be writing and growing your audience, kind of thing. You got to just figure it out. I mean, when you went to do your business with JETLAUNCH, did you just go gung-ho, or did you have to kind of phase into it?
I actually went gung-ho, but lived pretty simply in the very beginning. So it was, okay, how do I make this work? Well, I need to drastically cut down all my expenses. And so I approached it from that standpoint. It's like, what's the minimum I need? And then how do I make it? And even then, it was a little bit of a struggle. But it's totally possible. If I had to do something now that, with more commitments and things in my life, then yeah, I would start out slow. But I would also be, again, working on how can I reduce where the money is going? How can I make this work better? And then, you go that way.
And build it up. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, thank you so much, Chris. I appreciate it. I'm so happy that you're part of our team now for the boot camp. And if you are interested in the Write My Book boot camp, we would love for you to be a part of it. And as you see, the code for now is FLASH30 to get $30 off a month. And up here is the writecoach.biz/bootcamp as where you can go and learn more about it. And this is in some of the comments, and I will go to all the, out to YouTube and to the Facebook page and make sure these links are all out there, so that if you're watching the replay, you can just click on the link and get to it really easy. If you have any questions about this, about growing your fan base, or about the boot camp, where we would love to join you and help you on your journey, then please ask wherever you're watching, YouTube, Facebook, and one of us will be able to answer for you and help you along the way. And so we love it. And so thank you, Chris. I appreciate you being here.
Absolutely. It's been my pleasure. I love this. Another chance to connect with people and build those relationships.
Exactly. Love this too. So take care, everybody. Have a great weekend and stay warm, people in Texas. I know you are cold.